This is yet another MBA’17, a podcast featuring conversations with the greatest of all time MBA alumni from the Naveen Jindal School of Management at the University of Texas at Dallas. We're here to celebrate the outcomes of graduate management education and to identify remarkable examples of how the MBA program here at the Jindal School has transformed the lives of our alumni. Now, here's Dr. Monica Powell, Senior Associate Dean and Graduate Dean at the Jindal School. Take it away, Monica.
Well, hello there. This is Monica Powell. I'm the Senior Associate Dean and Graduate Dean here at the Naveen Jindal School of Management at UT Dallas. And I am so excited today that we have the opportunity to talk to Janelle Manuel. She is an amazing digital marketing analytics master, a senior manager of the digital experience at Mohawk Industries. She's living in Atlanta, coming to us across the airwaves, and we'd like to welcome Janelle to the MBA podcast.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me.
We are so excited to have you. Now, if I remember correctly, we're talking to you from the lovely state of Georgia.
Correct. I live in the greater Atlanta area currently.
Well, we love the fact that somebody who's living in Atlanta loves Texas and loves the University of Texas at Dallas.
Oh, yeah. I have so much common pride. I love the school. I love the faculty. And that's why I was super excited about this opportunity. Always looking for a way to make sure I stay connected, even if I'm a little far.
Hey, that's all right. You can be a comet from afar and love us just the same.
Exactly.
So, Janelle, let me ask you just a few questions because, I looked at your LinkedIn profile and I looked at what you have done. And of course, you were here in Dallas when you went through the evening program, and then you have experienced some pretty incredible promotions at Mohawk Industries after you graduated from the program. Can you tell us a little bit about Janelle before the program, Janelle in the program, and now Janelle out of the program?
Oh, man. Okay, sure. So Janelle before the program had been working in marketing for a manufacturer in Dallas. I knew that I wanted to continue my education. I'd been at an undergrad for a while, but I wasn't honestly quite sure where I wanted to go. I knew business, I knew marketing, but I felt like it was so much subjectiveness in the marketing world that I really knew that I needed to hone on to some sort of specific marketing related skill. So I was a coordinator, what I would really consider, and to anybody that, is kind of at that same place, that's the paying your dues space. You are in the platforms, you are in the operations, the day-to-day tasks. You're trying to familiarize yourself with not only the business, but the tools that the business uses to actually, get the marketing work done. So that was definitely what I was doing in the trenches. And then, of course, got accepted into the evening cohort program. It was exactly what I needed at that time because I just wasn't at a place to completely stop working and go to school, but I knew that I wanted something as kind of cohort-based and on campus as possible because I knew I needed that experience to really kind of immerse myself in the curriculum. So getting to the cohort, the thing that I will say is the first few weeks, it is like blissful unawareness. You are blissfully unaware of all the things that you don't know, all of the things you're going to have to call upon from your time working, all the things you're going to have to call upon from your time in school before. And it's really kind of familiarizing yourself with the rigor and the kind of connectivity that has to be had to really thrive in a program like that. And so, really being in that program and getting through that first phase of let me adjust to the workload, let me adjust to, how I'm going to balance my professional career and my career as a student, how am I going to do this? And so I had to be very upfront with my job, this is what I want to do. I'm wanting to use the things that I'm learning to reinvest back here at my job. But it's going to take me some time and some semesters to figure out that balance. I had a great work environment where they really encouraged me to not only continue my education, but also to bring back the things that I learned and really try to apply them. I think that is the best way to learn anything is, take it, absorb the theory, absorb the models, absorb the practicum. But, ultimately it's about how do you put it in practice to really, move business objectives. So that was kind of Janelle during my time in school, sorting through all the things that I thought would make me a more well-rounded student. So that was like competing in contests or case studies, things like that, or, going to events and networking on top of really kind of having that full-time career. That was, because I was bringing back a lot of things I was learning, I was getting a lot more responsibility. And, there were times where I was like, wow, this is a lot, but, this is exactly the environment that I need to really kind of sort out how I apply these things to my daily life.
So fast forward that to now and how the MBA degree has really helped you grow your career.
My job was very aware that I didn't want to really make any large moves while I was still in school. But I did not anticipate how quickly things would move once I was done. So I graduated. I had a boss that was very excited about what I could bring because I did concentrate on the analytics track. And so she was starting to build a kind of analytics practice within our organization. So she wanted me to really kind of develop that from inception. And so I ended up relocating to Georgia, where my boss was sitting and where she worked from, and, relocated, got a house and everything. And then, really worked hard at that for 2 years, helped Mohawk evaluate platforms, implementations for analytics tools, just starting to build a more unified marketing data ecosystem for the company, and creating ways to really scale that across both sides of our residential and commercial business. So really focused on that for 2 years. And then internally, we just saw that a lot of the digital experience, because currently I'm the senior manager for digital experience for the residential business. A lot of the digital experience today is powered by data. So it just seemed like the logical next step as we continue to try to build our digital leadership, continue to try to steer towards this digital first mindset across the business unit. And so that's kind of how I ended up where I am today. So currently I'm responsible for still measuring and tracking our digital channels, measuring across the ecosystem, but also tying that together to create really impactful and meaningful digital experiences for our consumers.
Wow, that sounds really exciting. And we see a lot of MBAs that want to go into the digital analytics space, and you have absolutely penetrated that and shown the benefit of the MBA on that opportunity. When you think about your experience here, because you really were enrolled in the toughest of our MBA programs, you were working full time, balancing some kind of a private life, and then being fully employed all at the same time. So if there is a prospect out there that's thinking about juggling all of those balls at the same time, what kind of advice would you give them to make the juggling much easier?
It starts with really defining what you would like to get out of such an undertaking. I knew that when I got out of when I came out of the other side of the PIMBA or the cohort format, I did want to have those connections. I did want to be able to call on, members of my cohort, long after the end of my time at UTD. And I also knew that I wanted to be able to practically apply it as I was in the program. So it required lots of studying, lots of application that, sometimes your professors wouldn't ask for, especially in the marketing analytics track, but it's taking that stuff and actively saying, okay, now that I've learned this for school, how do I bring this into the business so I have more practical knowledge? And then also just making yourself go to those events, making yourself do the networking, because it is very easy to choose to stay home and maybe catch up on a few hours of sleep, or, maybe just have some time to, catch up on your favorite show. But I think all of it really goes together to really help you really make yourself a more well-rounded candidate once you finish the program.
You know, I talk to students at orientation all the time, and I tell them that if you come and you only partake of the classes, then you're only getting half of what you're paying for in tuition. That there's really a networking component, there's an extracurricular component, there's a component about moving outside of the classroom and not just focusing on the knowledge, but focusing on the experience, that it's it's this great place where you can grow your confidence, you can grow your skills, you can practice, you're in a safe kind of an environment. So the decision process that you made to come back, you said you kind of thought about, well, what do I want to get out of it? How long did you think about getting an MBA before you actually did it? And was the process hard, or was the decision hard, or was it all of it?
So the decision to get the MBA was not hard. Once I decided, marketing is going to be my career, I want to grow in this. I think that this is something that really I could see myself doing long term. I knew the MBA was the next step because I knew I wanted to be client side corporate. So there were things about the business that I would needed to know. Now the analytics track actually kind of came organically, just from a little bit of just what I was doing before I started. And I was like, I actually really like this. I could see myself really going down this path. But it wasn't really a hard decision to get the MBA, but the process of deciding where to go, what program, what format was going to be best for me to finish the program with what I felt like I needed to really accelerate, that was a lot more tedious because you've got to talk to people who've gone through it. You've got to start going to the events. You've got to, get some FaceTime with professors. I think probably one of the best things I gave myself was one of the PIMBA information sessions. They had a professor speaking, and, I just struck up a conversation, which is not like me. I really don't consider myself one of those very good on-demand people. But, I think that was such a defining moment, just talking about how these professors worked in the real world. They understand that it's, all the business models, it's good to know them, but it's still going to require a little bit of just nature and just kind of experience to really make those key business decisions. So it was good. I felt like it was. And especially the people, the more I got to learn about the people that were interested in the cohort, these are people in the field. These are people actively working, not necessarily afraid of sharing resources and things like that. I thought all of that was critical, and that was kind of what led me there. But the process itself was pretty tedious, but definitely worth it. And I highly recommend that same due diligence for sure.
Well, it sounds like you had a great plan.
This episode is brought to you by the UT Dallas MBA program, top ranked nationally and in Texas. The UT Dallas MBA combines a robust core with 13 concentrations. You have an option to add a second master's degree, and your choices for that include 5 STEM-designated programs. The MBA program has full-time, part-time, online, and other formats. They give you flexibility to fit your MBA education into your busy schedule. The skills and training you will receive are what top employers are looking for. For more information, visit us online at jindal.utdallas.edu/MBA.
If I remember correctly, you did the MBA, but you also added on the full MS for the business analytics degree?
I did. I don't know how I talked myself into that one, but I did do that one. And, I felt like because of where the technical demands that were starting to be more apparent for marketers, that was the logical choice to make sure that there was a great, real technical foundation. A lot of this stuff you'll learn in the individual platforms, but understanding statistics, understanding modeling, understanding all the things that eventually marketers, and currently marketers are responsible for. We're moving further and further away from descriptive or go with your gut, and we're fully into the predictive phase right now of customer segmentation and just customer interaction. So I knew that would really help me accelerate by understanding those things and being able to articulate those to data science teams or to internal BI teams.
You do realize, Janelle, that you did the hardest combination in the MS MBA offerings. You did the MBA, which is hard enough when you're working full time and taking a full class load, but to add the MS Business Analytics onto there, I mean, you really like to be challenged at the highest level.
I think, going into it, it was just a genuine curiosity of like, I know a little bit about a lot and I'd like to go deeper. I'd like to feel confident speaking about these things. You don't realize how much you don't know until you're in it and you're like, wow, this is just so much content, but it is crazy that this is what, is going to be the expectation of businesses and particularly marketers as time and technology continue to go on.
It's really interesting that you say that. My master's degree is actually in advertising, which a lot of people don't know that. But, advertising in those years wasn't analytically driven. It was all concept. It was all creative design. It was all, how do you figure out what you think you know about the consumer so that you can make a pitch to that type of consumer to get them to do something. But, you're talking about where data drives every single decision, and the classes you took helped you to have that conversation with the data scientists so that you can measure the things that tell you how to market effectively to them. So which was the analytics course or which was the marketing course that you continue to go back to in your career day in and day out that you kind of reference as kind of a bench point that helps you in your career?
So there was a course specifically dedicated to marketing analytics. So it was, his name was Jordan, and he was actually the director of analytics at Southwest Airlines, and he was the professor. And he had so many resources about how companies are using really digital touchpoint data to start to really power customer segmentation. And I think that was really what laid the foundation for a lot of these other more really kind of technical or statistics heavy courses, because you always knew that like there is a customer profile, customer segmentation, customer behavior kind of mechanism or lever that is going to be pulled by these more sophisticated models. And he was aware of both. And so it made the class a lot more substantial because you got to see both sides. He threw us right into the platform of Adobe Analytics, which is what I implemented at my current company. It didn't force us, but politely pushed us into participating into the Adobe competition, which I did 2 times. And I've actually ran into the sponsor for that competition at several Adobe events. And I always tell them like how critical stuff like that was to kind of determining, kind of the tools that marketers pick to really power that. So I would say that class was really the foundation. And then I would definitely say all of my regression classes, I would say Mike Grigsby, one of my favorite professors at UTD. I took both of his marketing models classes, and I still have both of those books on my desk. He wrote the books for both of the classes, and even though we don't use SAS at my current position, just a lot of the principles and a lot of the stances on customer segmentation that he took still prevail today. The way I talk to our advertising vendors, our media vendors in general, a lot of that still draws back to these kind of segmentation principles that are based on statistical packages.
Wow. I love both of the things that you said about Jordan and Mike Grigsby, and I will definitely tell him that you have 2 of his books still sitting on your desk. Now, you sound like you get very excited about all things analytics, which I think is absolutely great. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you do that at the PTA meeting or when you're out socializing. But we love in the graduate management education world when students are as excited about analytics as you are, because analytics is everything. It's driving all business decisions today, whether it's marketing specific or whether it's production and operations or whether it's information technology. You can't do it without data, and you can't make a decision that isn't data-based. So I'm thrilled to hear the excitement in your voice when you talk about the impact of the MBA and the MS in business analytics on your career. That's really exciting. So, now that you're done with it and you're out there and you're, living this great life and you can look back on these kind of defining moments in your journey here, what would you say to a prospect? What would be the biggest selling point that you would say to somebody else who doesn't yet know they're madly in love with data, but that data might transform their life and they should think about doing what you did? You obviously thought about it a long time, but there's a lot of people out there that aren't as decisive as you are. So what would your advice to them be?
My advice is if you have a natural curiosity for how things are powered, how things move, how to get people to behave in a certain way, even if you've never touched any of the data platforms, you're probably well set to be a data practitioner. I think that half the battle is just the curiosity that is required for you to be able to look at complex data sets and derive insights. And people tend to think that that is a wall, that if I don't know how to use Excel in an advanced way, if I don't know how to use SAS, if I don't know how to use Adobe, that's not really for me. But really what marketing needs today are people who understand the principles and people who can apply that critical thinking to data sets to draw insights. So if you're naturally analytical, if you're naturally able to draw conclusions based on the things you learn, I say go for it because that's where everything is going. Marketing is so full of data practitioners, and a lot of the people that have been in marketing for years are starting to have to really familiarize themselves with the language of data and familiarize themselves with hypothesis testing, with A/B testing, with being able to manage a body of testing, which is currently what we're undergoing. And so really, I say expose yourself to even the simplest form of it. And if it's something that you're able to find enjoyment in and find that natural drive to say, let me keep digging deeper, let me keep trying to figure out like what this piece of information is telling me, I'd totally recommend it because it puts you in so many places. It puts you in so many rooms that you, as an outsider, you don't really realize how much data really weaves itself into all the functions of the business. And so having that at your fingertips and being able to manage that part of the business is critical. So I would say if that's where your interest lies, full speed ahead.
Wow, that is a great testimony about why investing in an MBA and an MS in business analytics pays off. So I want you to finish this sentence for me, Janelle. By the time I was done with the end of the evening cohort MBA and MS in business analytics, I consumed blank number of cups of coffee.
Actually, probably like 8.
Wow. So, okay. So in lieu of coffee, Janelle, what did you consume to get through the program?
Copious amounts of energy drinks.
So copious
and
amounts.
I would say,
so can you put that in data terms?
Probably for a week. I did it for 2.5 years. So we're thinking, and oh goodness, now I'm like doing math on the spot, but 500. About 500 energy drinks. Look, coffee just threw me straight off the rails, and it was just a sad sight to see. I don't know what it is about coffee and my kind of internal composition, but I had to go to a different source of energy. So it was definitely energy drinks for sure. Which I've weaned myself off the stuff now, but it did take some time.
Well, I absolutely love that answer. So what was the high point in the MBA program and what was the low point? And start with a low point first.
The low point in the MBA program was, so it was submitting for the Adobe Analytics competition. We were in the final hour. It was my team. I was also still enrolled in Mike Grigsby's class, which is always a fun thing to do. And so I had my weekly submission for his class that was going to be due very soon. And then I also had to catch a plane in 2 hours to go to New York for a meeting. And I was just tired. I was having to juggle everything. I was like, I am so close, but this is starting to beat me down. And It had to be a lot of positive self-talk, calling my mom, in the middle of the night, just like, hey, you got to give me some words of encouragement because this is big. This is becoming a lot. But I came back on the other side and handed him my submission and went home and slept for like 13 hours. I don't know if that was the answer you were looking for, but that was definitely one of my most memorable, like, goodness moments.
I think that's a great story, and I think that's a very realistic experience that a lot of students have. But isn't it joyful to be on the other side of it and say, wow, I did it?
Definitely. All of those sessions of trying to retain things, trying to make sure that, the things that you are proposing make sense, and trying to make sure that, you're not kind of just being in your own bubble and still allowing yourself to be inspired and to learn new things, even in the thick of it. It's all critical, and it's all still things that I call upon today. The biggest thing that I took from my MBA is that you cannot boil the ocean, but you do need to make sure that you know what you're talking about. And so being able to research things quickly, being able to find credible sources quickly, being able to solve problems quickly, all muscles that I had to work daily as I was pursuing my MBA. And it still is paying off today, for sure.
That just makes me so excited. When I get to chat one-on-one with students and talk about students who've really transformed their lives. And these 2 degrees have really transformed your life. And I know that Mohawk Industries is absolutely delighted with the outcome. They've been a real beneficiary of your investment of time, energy, money, a ton of energy drinks, about 500 of those.
Yeah.
It's really paid off. So let me see if I can ask you some rapid fire questions here at the end. Let's see how quickly you can throw answers back at me. So
Okay.
What was your favorite class in the MBA program?
My marketing analytics class.
What was your least favorite class in the program?
Oh, man. Statistics, the first statistics class in the MBA.
Don't feel badly. Most people give that same answer. What was what was your go-to food?
Jason's Deli in the business school.
A lot of students outside of Jason's Deli. We won't ask you what type of sandwich or salad. If you could do one thing all over again, what would it be and why?
It would probably be my my macro, just because I'm trying to say it was a class that was very statistics heavy, and I loaded my coursework, I think, a little bit improperly for that class, and I struggled with that class. It was a class that I wish I had more time to dedicate to, and I just could not. I still have the books to this day. I'm drawing a blank on the name of the class, but it was such a great class. But it was just, I was ready to graduate, and I just needed to get these classes done. And if I just had an extra semester, I would do that class all over again.
Oh wow! Hindsight is always 20/20. So you're in Atlanta, and your alma mater is back here in Dallas. So I'd like to kind of conclude our podcast, and you have absolutely been a fabulous, greatest of all time alum, and we're so grateful that you were here with us. But I want to know what you are saying to your new colleagues in Atlanta about your graduate management education here in Dallas, and what would you say to them that would surprise them?
It's funny because, like, when I first came to Atlanta, my boss at the time would introduce me like, "Hi, this is Janelle. She has two master's degrees." And so I didn't want that to come across as like, this is me. I am other. So I did want to make sure that I was immersed in working alongside everybody just to make good marketing decisions every day. But I would often get questions about why, like, how did you do it? Are you just an overachiever? Are you just someone who, really likes school? Like, what makes you different? And I think that today, when I say to them, like, honestly, it was the best decision I could have made, because now I know so much about how to relate the things that I produce personally to the rest of the business. And I think that they see it and they understand that it was not just to kind of get some notches, but it was to really make sure, again, going back to that I know what I'm talking about. And I think that they feel it. I feel it when I walk into a room and I'm able to say with, surety that this is how we're going to solve this problem today. That would be what I would say to them. It's just this was done so that I could really have that confidence.
Well, Janelle, you impress me beyond imagination. And we are so proud of how you've been able to harness this amazing educational opportunity and parlay it into this confident, excited, analytically rich thinker of an individual who's out there really showcasing to the world the impact of the UT Dallas MBA and MS programs on an individual. We're really proud of you, and we're grateful that you would take time out of what I know is a really busy schedule to chat with us on the podcast. And we hope you'll come back to Dallas and visit us again soon and share all of those excellent accomplishments with us. We want to really celebrate and share in your success. And we're grateful for the time that you spent with us, and we really hope you'll come back.
Thank you.
Thanks, Janelle. We'll be in touch with you again soon. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. I hope that you were inspired by the words you heard from one of our greatest of all time MBA GOATs. If you were inspired to think about getting an MBA degree, I hope that you'll be in touch with us. Give us a call, drop us an email, hop on our website. Be in touch with us so that we can help you make a difference in your future. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of yet another MBA GOAT podcast. Join us online at MBAGoat.com to find episode notes, links, and more. Be sure to subscribe to yet another MBA GOAT podcast on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review. That will help spread the word about the podcast and the Jindal School's MBA programs. To learn more about the Jindal School's MBA programs, go to jindal.utdallas.edu/MBA.